Hi, third graders. I hope that you thoroughly enjoyed reading our selection this week, which is called The Real Story of Stone Soup. I thought it was such a fun story. So many great things that happen in the story, and I think that the illustrations really add to it quite a bit. They're just really fun the way they were drawn, and I love all the expressions on the characters' faces, which give you more information about what's happening in the story. If you haven't read it already, please go back and read it before you listen to the rest of this and do the lessons. The story this week is a folk tale. That is the genre. A folk tale is a story that's been passed down orally, which means it's been passed down by people telling it, speaking it, instead of written on a page. And it's been passed down that way for many generations. So the story's been told over and over and over again for years and years and years to family members and friends. And a folktale usually will have a message or a moral that it's teaching you, or a lesson. The other thing that you want to notice about a folktale is that the main character has a problem that needs to be solved, and very often the main character has to be very clever about solving that problem. They have to find a really clever way to solve it. So those are some of the characteristics you can look for to see if something is a folktale or not. I also wanted to point out that our reading strategy this week is to ask and answer questions. And what that means is when you're reading, if you come across something that is confusing to you, you can go back and reread to figure it out. And while you are reading, you should be asking yourself questions just naturally. It's something that you will learn to do more and more as you read. So you should be reading through pages and saying, I wonder why that happened, or I wonder what that means. And then you need to reread certain sections of the story in order to find out the answer. You will be asked some questions for one of your assignments this week in this story, and you may need to go back in and reread part of it to figure out the answer. In order to do that, remember that you can go back and forth between your tabs. So see how I have Wonders open right now. And if I wanted to switch, I could go, for instance, here's my story. If I needed to go to Google Classroom, I go up to my tabs at the top. Google Classroom is open, and I can write answers or do an assignment, and then go back up here to the tab to switch back over to the story. So I'm going to teach you how to determine the narrator's point of view today. So, and you're going to have an assignment on point of view. So I'm going to look at pages 280 and 281. And the question is, what does the narrator think about himself? So the narrator is the person telling the story. And we want to figure out from these two pages, what is he thinking about himself? So let me read. It says, "It all began when I hired those troublesome Chang brothers to help me on my fishing boat. Nice boys, but lazy. And, I'm sorry to say, somewhat stupid. The only good thing I could get away with not The only good thing is I could get away with not paying them very much. Even with the three of them, I did most of the work, and I kept the hardest job for myself. I steered the boat." So if I go to my point of view document, which you will have, and I say, what does the narrator think about himself? Now, this was written for a different page that you're going to read. So this says, what does the narrator think about the soup? But in this case, I'm just pointing out to you what the narrator thinks about himself on these two pages. So I want to write some clues or details that help me to figure out the narrator's point of view. These are the clues that I come up with on these 3 pages. The narrator is saying, even with the 3 of them, I did most of the work. I kept the hardest job for myself. And lastly, I steered the boat. So what does that tell you? What is his point of view about himself? What is he thinking about himself? I can tell from the 3 clues or details that we just wrote down that the narrator thinks he is the hardest worker. And I know that because of the words that he used in the story. Even with the three of them, I did most of the work. I kept the hardest job for myself. I steered the boat. Therefore, the author's or the narrator's point of view is that he thinks he is the hardest worker. You are going to have to do an assignment like this for a different page with different paragraphs. So don't copy what I've just shown you here because your assignment is different. It's going to be about the soup. So follow the directions on the document page that's given to you, and it will tell you directly where to go in the story to answer these questions. Good luck, do your best, and don't forget to turn it in.